Okay. Welcome, everybody. We're in the class in Tanya. We're in the seventh chapter of Shaar Hayichud Veha-emuna. In the standard edition of Tanya, it is page 162. I'm sorry, 163. Let's vote.
163, yeah?
163, close to the bottom. And lessons in Tanya, my edition, which is an old one, it says 915. Okay.
Okay.
So, to recap, we've said that there is a pasuk in the Torah that we say in the I'm sorry. So we said that that the light of Hashem that creates the world is all over. As far as the light is concerned, it shines everywhere. There is no tzimtzum. There is nothing that stops it. There is a tzimtzum. There is something that stops the light, and it curtails the light. The light is able to shine through in a very, very limited way, and from this, the world is able to be created. If the light would shine in full strength, the then the world could not be created. Nothing else could exist. The light would be too strong and would overwhelm anything that gets created. So it couldn't exist. So this symptom has to be created, this drastic transformation that curtails the light. That is one thing. On the other hand, as far as the light is concerned, there is no curtailment. So here we have what you might call an optical illusion or a paradox, where from the perspective of the light, from the perspective of the creative force, there is nothing stops it. Nothing else has any significance. There is there's only one entity that exists, and that is the infinite light. As far as the perspective, from below, there is a concealment that takes place. The light gets curtailed. There's a drastic transformation, and creation can happen. So this, we want to call it an optical illusion for us, that the light is not here. Or you can say it's something of a paradox, that depending on from which perspective you're observing. We said that this is the meaning of the pasuk and the Torah that we say in the Lenu, that you have to know and set it to your heart. That Hashem is God in the heavens above and the earth below. So the question we asked was, just say that God is the only God. There's no other idols. What you have to know and set to your heart, like this very strong statement, it's not telling you that there's no other idol, that there's no other God, that these idols and stuff, the statue is not God. You don't need to set that, like, you don't need such a strong statement to say that this piece of stone is not, this piece of rock is not God. What is the strong statement telling us? That Hashem says you have to really know this, and is that not that there's no other God, but there is no other thing. That there is nothing outside of godliness. There's nothing. There's that God is the absolute unity, and creation does not take away from that. Me and you, we are all part of that absolute unity. Shema Yisrael, we translated, we connected the name of Hashem, Hashem, or Havaya, or Yudke Vavke, Hashem's um, essential name, the name that we have that most that in our ability, that's the best of our ability to be able to describe him. And this name represents the creative force. The name Elokeinu, our God, represents represents the creative force as it is adapted for a world to exist. And we say Hashem Echad, God is one, meaning that what we see Elokeinu, that we see a world, we see creation, we see the natural order of the world, that this is actually contained. It's within Yudke Vavke. It's within the creative force. It does not, from the perspective of the creative force, there's no curtailment. And this is Echad. It is all one. Everything is all part of one's godliness, Echad, in a manner that is unified, where there is no top, there is no bottom, no part is higher or better than any other. There's just one thing that exists, godliness. That's what we say, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. We then come to the next line, Baruch Shem Kvod Malchus Olam Vod, that blessed is um, his honorable um, royal name forever. This already is speaking about the perspective from below, that we see that there is creation, and we know that this is all part of God's oneness. So it's acknowledging God. It's acknowledging his existence and his involvement in everything. But we do see a creation. We do see a physical world. And we say that even though we don't see the godliness in it, but we acknowledge that the godliness is here. And this is what we call Yichud HaTorah. This is oneness from the perspective of below, or the unity from our perspective. So we have a unity from the perspective of the creative force, and then we have the unity from the perspective of creation. Question, Aaron Yitzchak.
So I actually had an experience with my children today, and I tell them, God is everything, but then they'll ask me like, so is this chair Hashem? So even though God is everything, how do I? Everything isn't God though, right? So
Well,
how would you word that to a child?
it's hard for a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old, but you can say that the chair only exists because Hashem creates it.
Okay,
Hashem created it, and he makes it to be here. And if he didn't make the chair, and if he didn't constantly at all every moment make it, then there wouldn't be a chair.
okay,
So Hashem, and that's what we learned in the beginning, that Hashem creates everything, and it's the creative force, however you say that to a child, it's the creative force that makes it be. And without the
okay.
creative force, it wouldn't be.
Hmm.
And you can give an example. You could give an example of holding something up. If you let go, the thing wouldn't stay where you had it, it would just drop to the ground.
Okay.
Okay, so that just like if you didn't hold it up, it wouldn't stay up, it would fall. If Hashem didn't make the chair exist now, then the chair wouldn't be. Or
Okay.
something, for example, similar to that,
Hmm.
where something only is or happens because of your constant input.
Okay. But we're saying ain't no Novato, even the creation is actually there's nothing but the creator, right?
Yes,
Okay.
but we explained at the beginning that we explained it in that way in
Okay.
the first or second chapter.
Hmm. Thank you.
You're welcome. Good luck. You should know, as much as I teach this, I've taught it several times. I'm learning it somewhere else. It's still a challenge to remember, to keep in mind, to understand. So this is the paradox. This is the paradox that Hashem is present everywhere, and everything that exists is part of the absolute unity, even though we don't see it. Now, one of the things, and our Nisak, I hope you're listening carefully to this, that we say that Hashem and the infinite and the light is infinite, without limit. We said before that the infinite can't it we talked about if creation was infinite or not infinite, um that the creator is infinite, creation is finite. We talked about that a few weeks ago. The idea is we're going to say, I don't know if we say it here or elsewhere, but since Hashem is infinite, he's even able to create a finite world. The finite world is not a is not something that is beyond him or that he's not capable of. Since he's infinite, he's even able to create a world that is finite. If you say he can't create a world that's finite, then you're limiting his abilities. Okay, so here we're going to talk about this paradox, where from the perspective of the light, there is absolute unity. One example that we gave is that I think that we said that the sun exists, and from the sun, there's light that shines. So here we are, 93 million miles from the sun, and we can talk about the light of Hashem the light of the sun, excuse me, that reaches us. The We could talk about the light of the sun that reaches us. The On the other hand, if if we look within the sun, obviously
No
it's
slight.
it's lit within the sun. Obviously, it's very bright and very hot. But the but to speak about the light within the sun is silly. It's ridiculous. Because within the sunlight is meaningless. You're inside the sun. Why are you speaking about the sunlight? It's only when the light leaves the sun that we can start saying, this is that we can say speak about the light as something of its own. I'm going to start 163 near the bottom. And in the again, you said it's 315 in yours, Aaron? What page is it in your edition?
Uh, page 98.
98 in the newer edition of Lessons in Tanya. Or, in other words, the the lesson for 21st of Sivan and 22nd of Sivan, regular year leap year. V'hinei af al pi shu yisbarach l'mayla me'amakom vazman. Even though we say that Hashem is beyond time, He is beyond place. Af al pi kein hu nimtza gam lamata b'makom zman. But still, Hashem exists within creation, even where there is, which is so far removed, where there is time, a place, and time. Dahainu, shemisyachad b'midas malchusai, shemimena nimshach v'nishava amakum v'hazman. And that, which means, in other words, that Hashem is one, that we said in the words that we've said in their introduction that he exists everywhere. So even where there is time and place, or that's doesn't make sense to say where, get it? Where there is place, even at the level of creation where there is time and place, or time and place exists, Hashem is there too. What do we call this level where there is time and place? That is connected, associated with the level called Malchus, that Hashem's um, being being king, which means that there is. We spoke a few weeks ago that if we refer to Hashem as a king, that means that there are subjects. You can only be a king if you have subjects. If the subjects are very close to you at a level that is similar to you, they can't be subjects. You can only be subjects over something that is outside of you. For example, not your family, not your royal entourage and your ministers, like ordinary people or proletariat. So this is where you could say, use the word king. So we say that Hashem, at the level where you say that Hashem is king, that means that there are subjects, that there are entities that are already significantly removed from the source, from the creative force. And it's at this level where we can say that there is such a thing as place and time, or the beginning of this idea of place and time. And so Hashem exists there as well with an absolute unity, v'zehu yichuda tita. And this is what we mean when we say that there is a unity from the perspective, from the lower perspective, from the perspective of creation, from our perspective. This is Yichud Tita, absolute unity. Because for us, the world is reality. Okay? We live in a world. We have to be in the world. Okay? Try to go 2 nights without sleep. You'll find out how much you need the real world, or without food or drink. Try to go for 1 day without your glasses, or even better, without your phone. Okay? I'm saying, okay, phone is a joke, but even okay, so I won't wear my glasses for a day. I won't wear my hearing aids. Okay? You won't function. The world is our reality. And yet, we know that this is all part of Hashem's absolute unity. So for us, where the world is reality, and we acknowledge that Hashem is all pervasive, this is called Yichuda Tita. It's absolute unity, but it's from our perspective, where we have to acknowledge a world. And this he calls Shiluv Havaya Ba'adnus Baruch Hu, where the Hashem's name, the Yud Ke Vav Ke, is integrated in the name that's connected with creation, the name that we pronounce Ad, which we're going to call that Adni, which means Hashem is the chief or boss of the world. And I told you that the shiluv, the integration of the names, means where you have the four letters of Hashem's essential name, Yud, and then Hey, and then Vav and Hey, and you have the four letters of the name that we pronounce, the Aleph, Dalet, and Nun, and Yud, and where the letters um, are mixed in with each other. So, so when we talk about the the name of here we're talking about the name of Hashem of the essential name being integrated into the name of Adni to be the chief and boss. So that then the name Adni is primary, and the Yud Ke Vav Ke is secondary, and that means that looks like if I know what I'm talking about, that you'll see sometimes they have the first letter of Adni, which is Aleph, then the first letter of Yud Ke Vav Ke, which is Yud, then the second letter of Adni, which is Dalid, and then the second letter of Yud Ke Vav Ke, which is a Hey, and they'll write that Aleph, Yud, Dalid, Hey, and so on. And these are sometimes written. It has Kabbalistic meanings, and you'll see sometimes if you use a Sephardi Siddur, in many of the Sephardic Siddurim, they'll have Baruch Atah Hashem, and after Hashem, they'll tell you which type of integration this is using, and it has is this bracha, and they'll have in parentheses or in brackets, they'll have letters of Yud Ke Vav Ke, the essential name, and letters of Avni, the name that means boss or chief, and they'll be integrated together. And there's different orders and which one comes first and which one comes second, and so on. So the details of it is not important for us. And even if it was, I couldn't tell you because I have no idea what it is. But what I do know is just this idea that for us, reality is the name of is creation, which is associated with the name of Aleph, Dalet, Nun, Yud, and we realize, you know what? All of creation is part of Hashem's oneness. So the name, the essential name, Yud Ke Vav Ke, gets mixed into the letters of Adni. And if we're talking about the perspective from above, where everything is absolute unity, everything is light, and the creation is insignificant or not like nothing to speak about. Then we talk about the creation, the name Aleph Daled Nun Yud, being integrated within the Yud Ke Vav Ke, the essential name. Hein Dahainu, which means I'm on page 164 now. Dahainu shemahusav atzvusay isparach hanikra b'shem inside baruchu. Molis kol haaretz mamish b'zanu makom, which means that the so now we're talking about the unity from our perspective, that there is a world that exists. We have time, past, present, and future. We have place. And just think for a minute how limited we are by time. I don't. We have someone here who has uh, uh, pressured by the clock to get his small children to bed on time. I don't mean just that, or making the flight. I'm talking about, we have time. We live with time. That 5 seconds ago, 5 seconds from now, we have no control over time. We have control over how we use time. We have no control over time. And then we have place. We are limited by place. Okay, we can be in one place at a time. I'd like to be in Israel now. I can't be. I have to choose. I can be in one place. I can't be in both. And yet, and yet, the um, and yet the creative force Hashem is exists throughout and throughout our creation, throughout this creation where there is time and space. Because whether we talk about the heavens above, we talk about the earth, like we said in the pasuk. We talk about the four directions, the four corners of the world, four directions. Hakol male me aron separuchu b'shava mamish. The it is all it's all filled with the light of God, and no spot or place or time has more light than another place or time. So whether you're in some grotto or a cave beneath the water, some fissure 5,000 feet beneath the surface of the sea, or whether you're talking about here on land, you're going up to the moon or even Mars, the the light of Hashem is equal throughout. Whether you're talking about on earth and beneath the surface of the earth, you're talking about in the heavens. It's just the light of Hashem is equal. Because everything, everything is all there's no place that is more significant than another place for regarding the infinite light. As far as the infinite light is concerned, everything is one thing. There, the place is batal. Places like it doesn't exist. The light of Hashem is everywhere through this idea of Adon, through the fact that Hashem is the king and what that means. As we've explained, that the what do we mean when we say that Hashem is the king? As we talked about, we've said that that means that something else exists now, another entity, which means that the light now gets concealed. I usually call it a drastic transformation. But the drastic transformation is that from our point of view, the light gets concealed. The light is curtailed. So that the creation, or specifically time and place, can exist without being overwhelmed by the light. Because oh, because the exists if this light was not curtailed, then the or concealed, it's more accurate to say it's concealed. Then if it was not concealed, then the world would not be able to exist. I'm finishing up. The world would not be able to exist. It would be just overwhelmed by the power of the light. And so that's why this Adnos, this name Adon, that Hashem is the boss, exists. Hashem is the king. So that means that there is, I'm going to use the word place, allowance for us, for creation to happen, for creation to exist without being burned up. With this, we are going to we'll stop here. Okay, hopefully, God willing, we'll meet again next week. Okay?
Thank you, Rabbi.
Yes,
Next.
Revolve.
Okay.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Okay, welcome, guys. Have
Bye.
a great night.
Night.
Great night. Yeah.
Okay.